Sandy Says Read, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do the August wrap-up for this BookTube channel. I know I am filming this on, what is it, September 7th? Yeah, so it's a little late getting to it, but here we go. We're going to do the August wrap-up. We'll begin with some parrot news. Why did I bring the Yodips to talk about parrot news? Oh yeah, okay. During the month of August, one morning, I was giving Mouse, my Timna African Gray, her morning breakfast, and she gets 2 bowls of breakfast each morning. And usually, each morning, I put one little Yodip. It's a mango Yodip that she likes. Get that there. I put a little mango Yodip in each breakfast bowl and put it in there for her, and then she eats her breakfast. She usually will either grab the pistachio or the Yodip first, depending on her mood, depending on the day. Well, one day in August, I forgot the Yodip. And this bird, she looked into the dish and then looked at me and fluffed just a little bit and waited. Didn't make a sound, just looked at me with a little bit of fluff to her. And I thought, oh, what has happened? What's wrong? Well, what was wrong was I had not put a Yodip on her breakfast, and she was letting me know that something was wrong, and she was waiting for me to recognize my mistake. And I recognized it and went and got the Yodips and took care of the problem. And then she was happy. And that is how my African Gray has me trained. Yes. So there's your parrot news for August. Let's go on with other news that happened in the month of August. All right. We had Duran Duran Appreciation Day on August 10th. And you know, I celebrated that. I should have brought my book over here. You guys know. You know, if you've been following the channel for any length of time, you know I wrote a book called 100 Things Duran Duran Fans Should Know and Do During This Life. It was a finalist this past summer in the Imagine Awards in the nonfiction category. It did not take first place, but it was a finalist, and you can get that for yourself wherever fine books are sold. Also, in August, on August 17th, I gave a presentation on world building to the, I think it was the Midwest Horror Writers group, a writing group. It was virtual. I did it by Zoom. It was a Zoom meeting in the midst of storms here. So the atmosphere was perfect for horror writing and world building. Let's see, what else happened in August? On my Locals channel, there was also writing stuff happening on my Locals channel. I put some content behind a paywall now on the Locals channel. There's still a lot that just anyone can view and see and interact with, but there's some stuff that is now behind the $2 per month paywall for writers over there. Is that everything? Also in random life news in August, there is now a leak in the garage to add to the crazy happening in my life here. It's not a significant enough leak that I'm freaking out about it yet, but there was one morning when there was a lot of rain happening, and I walked into the garage to get the chicken food, and I heard a drip. I could hear the drip, 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 and I thought, this sucks. And yeah, there's enough of a leak that there's like a discoloration above the car. So it is what it is, and I will deal with it when I have time to deal with it. I'm not worrying about it right now. Now let's talk about book stuff. You guys are here for the book news, not the crazy that's happening in Sandy's life. The book news here on the BookTube channel. In the month of August, we had the Muppets BookTube tag, which was very fun. I enjoyed that a lot. So there's the Muppets tag that y'all can see. We also had the Edward Ferris versus Liam Finucane. Yeah, Edward versus Liam. Liam is a character in the Jane Austen Project novel. So I looked at the two of them briefly in the review of the Jane Austen Project. That video is here for your viewing pleasure. We also did an indie book spotlight on The Bride of Leicester. That video is up for you guys. And in that, let's see, I separated out that video so that we had just the book review, but I also did a longer review and discussion where I talked a little bit about some of the book related and reader related events that have been going on that quite a lot of other booktubers and folks have talked about. So I did kind of a brief overview of some thoughts that I had about some of those events that people have been talking about. But I also talked about a couple of events that not a lot of people have been talking about out there, some events that are very good and fabulous and positive. So I talked about a couple of those things too. Now, what else we're going to do here? Books I did read during the month of August, and a mini book haul. We're going to do the mini book haul first. Like make some room on this little spot over here. The mini book haul. What's happened is I have canceled my book of the month subscription. Guys, there was $18 a month that I wanted to bring back into my pocket. Yeah, and I'm a little bit disenchanted with book of the month. The experience I had with Silver Elite disappointed me. You know, I'm not a fan of AI. I don't like it. I don't want it in my books. And if it's going to be in the book, I want forewarning of that. And it is my opinion that allegedly artificial intelligence was used to generate some of the content in that book. And you can see that review here on the channel as well. So I'm just not thrilled with Book of the Month and the fact that that wasn't flagged or mentioned or anything. So I had credits with Book of the Month, and then my final book was ready for me to order. So here we go. We're going to look at these books that are in this little box right here next to me. First up is Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. This one would fit into the fractured fairy tale category that we're doing here on the channel this year. So this would fit into the fractured fairy tale reading challenge. Yay. There is nothing on the back cover for me to read for you guys. So let's look inside at the cover flap. And it says, Healer Anja regularly drinks poison. Nice, right? Okay. Not to die, but to save, seeking cures for those everyone else has given up on. See, I like that. So that looks like a nice one. And I just like the cover too. Isn't that nice? So that was one that was available in Book of the Month. So I grabbed it. Also, with one of my credits, I grabbed A Sorceress Comes to Call, also by T. Kingfisher. So this is also, oh, that's got a glare. There you go. This one will also fit our Fractured Fairy Tale Challenge. You guys might remember that here on the channel earlier in the year, we read Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. And I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to explore some more titles by this author. So we have that going on now. Oh, Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms. There are no secrets in this house. And her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend. Unless you count Falada, her mother's beautiful white horse. The only time Cordelia feels truly free is on her daily rides with him. But more than simple eccentricity sets her mother apart. Other mothers don't force their daughters to be silent and motionless for hours, sometimes days on end. Other mothers aren't evil sorcerers. When her mother unexpectedly moves them into the manor home of a wealthy older squire and his kind but keen-eyed sister, Hester, Cordelia knows this welcoming pair are to be her mother's next victims, but Cordelia feels at home for the very first time among these people. And as her mother's plans darken, she must decide how to face the woman who raised her to save the people who have become like family. Nice. Okay, so A Sorcerer Comes to Call on the reading shelf now. Next up is Forget Me Not, a novel by Stacy Willingham. Look at that cover, right? Isn't that just gorgeous and lovely? All right, and this was the August 2025 Book of the Month. So this one was kind of timely. Oh, the inside flap is long, you guys. Okay, buckle up. 22 years ago, Claire Campbell's older sister Natalie disappeared shortly after her 18th birthday. Days later, her blood was found in a car. A man was arrested, and the case was swiftly closed. In the decades since, Claire has attempted to forget her traumatic past by moving to the city and climbing the ranks as an investigative journalist, until an unexpected call from her father forces her to come back home and face it all anew. With the entire summer now looming ahead, a summer spent with nothing to do in her childhood home with her estranged mother, Claire decides on a whim to accept a seasonal job at Galloway Farm, a muscadine vineyard in coastal South Carolina, less than an hour away from where she grew up. At first glance, Galloway is an idyllic escape for Claire, a scenic retreat full of slow-paced nostalgia, as well as a place where her sister seemed truly happy in that last summer before she vanished. It feels like the perfect plan to pass the time. However, as soon as Claire starts to settle in, she stumbles across an old diary written by one of the vineyard's owners, and what at first seems like a story of a young rebellion and love turns into something much more sinister as it begins to describe details of various unsolved crimes. As the days stretch on, Claire finds herself becoming more and more secluded as she starts to obsess over the diary's contents, as well as the lingering feeling that her own sister's disappearance may be somehow tied to it all. Galloway was supposed to be a place to help her move forward, but instead, Claire quickly finds herself immersed in her own dark and dangerous past. Doesn't that sound intriguing? Yes? Okay, so there is that one. And then the final one that I had credits for was The Man Who No One. This is a difficult title to read on this cover. The Man No One Believed, The Untold Story of the Georgia Church Murders by Joshua Sharp. You guys probably all know what this is. It's going to be difficult to read that. The inside front cover is dark type on a dark background. But in 1985, a white man walked into a South Georgia church and brutally murdered Harold and Thelma Swain, two pillars of the area's Black community. The killer vanished into the night. For 15 years, the case remained unsolved. Then authorities zeroed in on Dennis Perry, a carpenter who grew up nearby. Convicted with flawed evidence, Perry received a double life sentence. When award-winning journalist and South Georgia native Joshua Sharp retraces the case, he discovers a winding path of corruption, devastating missteps, and secrets. But I've heard quite a bit about this novel, so it's like a true fiction crime novel. It was also released in August of 2025, so I think this is going to be an interesting one. It's outside of my comfort zone. This isn't the type of novel I would typically read, so I'm intrigued, and I would like to give it a try. So there we go. And the last book that's kind of on the mini book haul, you might say, is Young Elizabeth Green by Constance Savory. And there is a reason that I picked up this book. This is a used copy. As you can tell, it looks a little rough around the edges. I picked up this book by Constance Savory because she helped complete a Charlotte Bronte novel. And we're going to talk about that. Are we going to talk about that now? This is the wrap-up. Yes, we're going to talk about that now, because now we're going to talk about the books I read during the month of August. So let me set this one down, and we'll dive into the books I read during August. First up is Rochester, a novel inspired by Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. This is by J.L. Neiman. This is a fan fiction reimagining of the character of Edward Rochester, and I'm doing a full-length review and discussion of it along with the next book that I read. And this one I started reading in August and finished here in September. This is Mr. Rochester, a novel by Sarah Shoemaker. You can see that one. This is also a reimagining of the character of Mr. Rochester. And so both of these novels that I've just mentioned, they're told from Mr. Rochester's point of view. This one, as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than that other one I just showed you. And I'm going to be talking about both of those in that review and discussion. And I will be bringing that to you here in the month of September. Stay tuned for that. Also in August, I read A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. And you guys, I don't remember if it was during 2025 or at the end of 2024 that I picked this up, but I believe I mentioned this one as a book I wanted to read for the Dragon Reading Challenge here this year. So I did that in the month of August, and I'm bringing you that review here in the month of September. Now, during the month of July, I started one of the books that we're going to talk about here, and then finished it during August, and then during the month of August, I read the other two that we're going to be looking at. And this is why I wanted to pick up that book by Constance Savory. This book, Emma, by Charlotte Bronte and Another Lady. This thing was published way back in, oh, did I write it down? No. Hold, please, and I'll tell you when this was published. First published in 1980. This was a delightful little story. It includes the first two chapters are written by Charlotte Bronte. And I read that here. This is Emma. Get the glare off of it. I can't get the glare off of it, you guys. Hang on. It's the best I can do. This is Emma by Charlotte Bronte. This is the first two chapters of her unfinished novel. So the first two chapters are included in this, which Constance then completed in publication in 1980. Then later in 1992, when did this one happen? Hold on, guys. I should have written this down so I could talk more intelligently. It should be easy to find. First American edition, published in 2004. I can't do numbers. Okay, so this was published in 2004. Emma Brown, a novel from the unfinished manuscript by Charlotte Bronte with Claire Boylan. Claire Boylan completed it again in 2004. So I read all three of these, and I'm bringing you that review and discussion, probably not in September. I'm probably going to wait until October 17th. And if you're a Bronte fan, you know why. If you know, you know. Anyway, so those I finished up to do a review for you. But the reason I wanted to get this book by Constance is because I so enjoyed her imagining of how the novel would have progressed. I so enjoyed the way she put it together. Her 1980s version of Emma, I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun reading it. I enjoyed it a lot. So I wanted to read more by that author. So I went online and I figured out, okay, who was the author who wrote, Emma with Charlotte Bronte back in 1980, and discovered it was Constance Savory. Constance has left us. She is no longer alive, but she left behind a ton of books. You guys, she has a huge bibliography. So I went online and found Young Elizabeth Green, and this is a story about a governess. 15, Elizabeth Green called the school monitress, and young Elizabeth ran to answer. 15 was the number that had been allotted to her when first she arrived at the orphanage many years before. It was sewn on all her clothes and stamped in all her books, and now she was going to leave it behind her forever. She was 15 years old and had been offered her first post as a governess in charge of Donata Deverill. So I think this is going to be interesting and fun to read and kind of look some more at what Constance had written. There we go. Also, it was the easiest one to get my hands on. It's not easy to get your hands on works by Constance Savory. I mean, there are plenty of them out there on places like eBay, etc., but they're not inexpensive. That's how I should phrase it. Yeah. Okay. Is that everything for August? Let's see if we did everything we were supposed to do. The mini haul, the books I read, all the things that we did here on the channel. That is it, you guys. Thumbs up for a lot of Bronte in the month of August, which was very fun to do. And thanks so much for tuning in.